I'll have to figure out, but that's later, because it's not this semester anyway. Okay, so I think I'm recording now,
Wait,
I think. Yes, recording now. Okay, so getting back to the grammar. So besides the fact that we've got different verbs for wearing different types of clothing items, what I was getting to here is the difference between the teimas form and the straight mas form of these verbs is a difference of meaning and usage. Okay? So for example, if you say kimono o kimasu, that means to wear a kimono, right? Okay? Kimono o kiteimasu means she's currently wearing a kimono. Okay? And then when you look at futorimasu versus futotteimasu, this is where it gets very interesting and cultural. Futorimasu is to gain weight, as in actively doing it now.
no.
Versus futotteimasu, which is to be overweight. It's already happened. You already ate too much, and now you are overweight.
So you go from a size 3 to a size 7, basically?
Something like that. So futorimasu means you're in that process, you're gaining weight. Right? And this one means you already are there. Futotteimasu. You're already in the state of having gained weight and being fat. Okay?
Well, I think that rule, so sounds like futorimasu has to
Futorimasu is
be
more of an active verb.
Yeah.
verb, but
Yeah.
futotteimasu should be adjective.
In English, it would be an adjective.
Yeah. Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
and
yeah,
also
futotteimasu,
Japanese also futotteimasu.
By English standards, this would count as an adjective, but you don't treat it as an adjective in Japanese. It conjugates as a verb. But in terms of its function, it's functioning more like an adjective. And what they're calling it is they're calling it a stative verb because it's describing a state of being. Okay? You're not in the process of gaining weight as we watch with this one. It's already happened and you're in the state of being overweight. Okay? And the same thing with yasateimasu versus yasemasu. Okay?
If we can translate to English, I mean like kiteimasu could
Yeah.
be wearing,
Yes,
right?
wearing. Yes.
Like wearing clothes like is
Yeah.
super cool or something. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's like
um,
I learned
yeah.
it's called
yeah.
jeren.
So like, if you're describing what somebody is wearing right now, T-shirts o kiteimasu. Jacket o kiteimasu.
Jeren.
Okay. Megane o kaketeimasu.
Yeah,
Right.
like I
Yeah.
always got the trouble between the
Right.
code that's like wearing ing form is
And this is to wear.
yeah.
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 So
Okay.
I got the
And futorimasu is to gain weight, like it says in your book. Right? Oh, I'm before you. No, that's worse.
Yeah.
Okay, versus futotteimasu, which is to be fat.
There's an erase mark.
Yeah, there's one here too. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, so that's the point I was trying to show you because it gets people confused and somebody was making note of the fact that these two are defined separately in your vocab list, and that's why. Okay, the same thing is true of some of the other verbs like shiru, to get to know. Shiteimasu is to know something. You're in the state of knowing it because you already got to know it at some point in the past. You learned it at some point in the past, so now you already know it. Therefore, it's teimasu, stated verb style. Okay, shiteimasu. Versus, if you don't know it, it goes back to the regular mas form, shirimasen, because you don't know it,
Wait.
okay?
So the teimas is present?
The teimas has more than one translation in English. That's why it's confusing, because
being
with
パッドってあれなんだよね
verbs
being って
that are more
わざとみ
active,
たいな意味になっちゃうから
it's more like the ing form. Teimas
she's being
means
sick
is
っていう
wearing,
となんか
right?
わざと
just like
仮病みたいに聞
tabete
こえるらしい
means
she's
is
being
eating, it's happening right now, right?
ゲイに
But a state of being verb like
うん
太っています. This is more of a description of a state of the person. 痩せています to be thin. 太っています to be fat. They're describing a way the person is, not something they're actively doing at the moment. Okay? The other one that's like this is 結婚しています. 結婚する is to get married. So 結婚します is to get married. Like, you know, you've got a friend who's getting married on the weekend. You know, 土曜日に結婚します. She's going to get married on Saturday. Something like that. Versus 結婚しています, which means someone is married. The rings on their finger, the ceremony happened who knows how many years ago, and they're in the state of being a married person. Does that make sense?
I also remember something from an anime. It was but
Let's-
cake,
let's
but yeah,
move
but
it
keikon
on.
could also apply to something like for like in the police term, like bloodstain, something like that.
You're confusing it with a different pronunciation. It's
Oh.
not the same word.
Alright.
結婚する is,
Okay, so the ring on the finger, marriage.
yeah, 結婚する is marriage. To be, 結婚する is to get married. But 結婚している is to be married. Do you see the difference? Okay.
What would the past tense be if someone was like divorced?
You could say 結婚していました. They were married. Okay, and now they're not anymore, so 離婚しています. They're divorced. Okay.
Yeah, adjective
Yeah.
describe the state, right?
Right.
State.
But in this grammar, in this book, adjective is a function of how it conjugates to, not just how it's used. So things that are verbs in English, like ski and kirai, are defined as adjectives in Japanese because they conjugate as non-adjectives, not keiyoshi. You know, ski desu, ski deshita, ski janai desu, ski janakatta desu, right?
Yeah,
Those follow the pattern of
like I'm capable.
of an adjective, therefore they're classed as adjectives, even though in English they happen to be verbs, right? And by contrast, to be fat, well, the word fat in English is considered an adjective, but in Japanese it doesn't get treated as an adjective, it conjugates as a verb, therefore we treat it as a verb. Right.
For part of the homework, when I was checking on the CD for the not married,
Uh-huh.
they used a 結婚してません.
Yeah, 結婚していません is the state of not being married. If you leave it in the present tense like that, ていません, that means not married in the sense of probably never having been married.
So ました would be,
Yeah, 結婚していました
I'm
would be he was married,
but it's not now.
right, but it's not now.
I
結
got
婚していませんでした would be he was not married,
言わない
and now maybe he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, or maybe, or it could also be like he wasn't married at the time that such and such happened that we're talking about. Okay, so that's the other thing about these stative verbs is you can use them to describe a state that somebody used to be in by putting it into the past tense. You know, so if, for example, you wanted to say that your friend used to be fat, but they're not anymore, now they're thin. you can do that with, say, imashita. So you can say, tomodachi wa mae, in the past, mae, futotte imashita ga, ima, yasete imasu. That friend used to be fat in the past, but now they're thin. You can do that too, right?
What's the difference between that and
Ga is slightly more formal. And it allows you to connect the two sentences into one complex sentence. Demo usually is the start of a new sentence.
okay?
So, because demo means however, or something?
Yes, exactly. Okay, so does that clarify a little bit what they were talking about? Because they're categorizing their verbs into three groups in this textbook.
Okay.
And honestly, their explanation always confused me. So I don't necessarily go by their explanation. I think the active verbs are very easy to understand. Ima tarete imasu. Somebody's eating right now, right? Ima hanashite imasu. Someone's talking right now, right? Kono yonde imasu. Reading right now. Okay? Nihongo o benkyou shite imasu. That's what we're doing right now. Okay? Some of those you can also use in a somewhat more general fashion to explain, for example, I'm studying Japanese in the sense of, well, right at this moment I might be standing in a subway station talking to someone, but I've been studying Japanese for the past 3 years and I'm continuing to study Japanese and I expect that to continue on for some time to come. Okay, so you might not be physically in a classroom or physically in the language lab with your textbook open, but you can tell somebody, I'm studying Japanese in the sense that it's something that is an ongoing activity for you, right? So, you know, even for me, I could still say, Nihongo o benkyou shite imasu, because I'm still learning stuff. You know, sometimes Hitoshi and Ippei will tell me stuff that I didn't know before. You know, I learned some new stuff from them. So,
Thank you.
especially during summer.
right, yeah. So that's, you know, so I'm still learning the language. So that's why I could still say, Nihongo o benkyou shite imasu, right? And they gave you examples of some of these verbs that are commonly used in the way that I was saying, that they're almost more like adjectives describing a person's state of being instead of something they're physically doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you've got verbs like iku and kuru that they talk about, that you can actually use those to explain that somebody has already done the action and is still continuing for them. So, Chugoku ni itte imasu doesn't necessarily mean that she's on the airplane right now halfway across the Pacific. It could mean that she's already in China and she's touring around and she's going to continue to stay in China for a while yet. Okay, Chugoku ni itte imasu. So like you're looking for so-and-so because you wanted to ask her something, and your friend says, Chugoku ni itte imasu. Oh, she's in China now. You're not going to get hold of her for a while. You know? Okay, so does that make sense? Okay. The next grammar point that they're talking about takes us back to the structure we learned with ski and kirai. Do you remember that basic structure? If you wanted to say so-and-so likes sushi, how would you say, like, Michael likes sushi?
Michael wa
My son wa
Sushi
sushi
ga
ga
suki desu.
right?
Isn't there a kanji for sushi?
Sushi, yeah,
It's difficult though.
yeah, it's not,
It's okay, like, well, Japanese people can also use that
If it's
sushi,
not-
hiragana.
formally part of what you're being asked to learn for this course. I don't necessarily write it on the board in kanji because not everybody is trying to learn supplemental kanji. Okay? So, Maikeru-san wa sushi ga suki desu. So everybody remembers that structure, right?
There's no sushi kanji. There's no sushi kanji in the book. I'm looking.
Yeah.
It's not here.
I know. Okay, and let's see, I had a marker here and it's, okay. Okay,
That's only
so now we're taking this same basic structure and we're using it now to describe somebody's appearance. Okay? In English, we would say something like Amanda's hair is long, right? But, yeah. But in Japanese, instead of Amanda-san no kami no ke ga nagai desu, instead it would be more normal to say Amanda-san wa kami no ke ga nagai desu. Okay, so your structure
What is kami no ke?
did they just say kami?
Yeah.
Okay. Kami no ke is just another expression for hair.
Yeah, they just use kami.
No,
Kami, okay.
thank you.
The only problem with kami is that it's a homonym with God and paper and hair.
Is
All
it
three.
kanji
Okay.
for-
Yeah,
No,
because
there's three different kanji.
Yeah, they just use
yeah, because I'm noticing that here on page 185 with
Yeah.
parts of the body.
Yeah,
Hana is pointing to the nose. Doesn't hana also mean flower?
yes. Yeah, so you use your hana to appreciate hana.
Nice.
So, Amanda-san wa kami ga nagai desu, right? So do you see how, in some sense, there's a parallel structure going on here? Okay. You've got the person,
ですって何
another noun
ですって品詞で言うと何
that has something to do with that person, right?
好
Some
きは
part
だ
of
から
that
形容
person.
詞ってことでしょ
And then the adjective describing it, which is similar to person,
助
the
動詞
thing that they have some feeling about, and then their opinion of it,
服です来たです
right?
いますです
Okay? So that's what we use for the structure, for basically any kind of description
行くですよ
that you could consider to be physically part of that person. By the way, guys, that microphone is live, so you're getting recorded, everything you're saying over there.
Why is for the kami no ke? Why is the no ke in the parentheses again?
Because it's an idiom that you don't have to use. You can just say kami, and in the right context, it's clear that you mean hair. But if it's not clear what the context is, you can say kami no ke to make it more obvious that you mean hair, because kami no ke only means hair. It doesn't mean paper or gods.
Does the no ke part actually mean anything on its own?
Well, the no is the possessive no,
Oh,
and the ke is another word that means like hair and or fur.
Wait, so hair of hair?
Kind of.
You're kind of fine.
Yeah,
wait,
it's
so
an
we're-
idiom, okay? Don't expect logic, it's idiomatic.
Because I was going to say,
Okay.
how do we go hair of hair?
Okay, so, but you can use any body part in this structure, and then an adjective that describes it. Okay, so not just hair, you could say, you know, I don't know, セスさんの足が Oki desu. I don't know if he does have big feet or not, but I'm just using that as an example.
Does she know?
Ashi, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ashi is feet.
How do
So
you know?
I'm just guessing.
No, I mean, how do you know? It's true.
Oh yeah, it's here.
Okay.
185 if you want to look.
Okay, so does anyone have questions about that part?
The parentheses or the body parts.
The body parts and the structure, the whole grammar structure. Okay, they also have a couple of idioms they're pointing out. The most unusual one probably is atama ga ii desu. So if you wanted to say that somebody is smart, you don't just say some other word that we haven't learned yet. There isn't that. You would say, Arishiya-san wa atama ga ii desu. She has a good head. Okay, that's the
It's so
idiom.
colorful.
That's the idiom for intelligent.
It's
Okay.
something with tall and short.
Yeah, se ga takai desu and se ga hikui desu. Se is actually your back. So you're kind of saying that somebody's back is tall and somebody's back is short. Apparently legs don't count for as much. I don't know. It's just an idiom. Right?
So, wait. Oh.
For like, would you use like nagai for like your legs, or would
If
that?
you're just describing someone
Yeah.
having long legs,
Or like,
in proportion to the rest of them, you could say ashi ga nagai desu. Yes, their legs are long. Okay, but if you're saying that they're tall,
yeah.
then se ga takai desu. Okay.
Is this the same as like somebody's pretty?
Not really, because pretty is more general.
So it would just be
Yeah,
somebody long.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, you could use something just like Shino-san wa kirei desu. Yeah.
Sensei?
Okay.
This part here for shoulder, kata.
kata.
Isn't kata also like another word for like stance or something if you're doing martial arts?
Different kanji.
Oh, different kanji?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there are a lot of homonyms. Okay, te forms for joining sentences. So we talked about the fact that you can use verbs in te form to join sentences before, right? So you can say things like asa okite asa gohan o tabemasu. In the mornings I wake up and then I eat breakfast, right? And now that you've got Peter and Haku and all that, you could go on to describe, asa okite, asa gohan o tabete, fuku o kite, kutsu o haite, gakko ni ikimasu. Right? You eat breakfast, you put on your clothes, you put on your shoes, then you go to school. Right? So you can do all that. Now they're adding how to make te form adjectives, so that you can describe something with more than one adjective in the same sentence. Okay, so same concept, being able to link things that you can't link with to. Because remember, to means and, but it only works with nouns. Okay? You can't link anything other than a noun to another noun with to. But you can link adjectives with the te form of the adjective. So, does everybody understand how to make a te form adjective? There are two ways because there are two kinds of adjectives, right? So if it's an e adjective, what are you going to do to it to make a te form? Kute, right? So let's say you've got takai as one of your adjectives to
Expensive.
describe, say, a restaurant, and
Price was expensive.
yeah, and let's say the other thing you want to describe it with is kirei, because it's a beautiful restaurant. It's expensive and it's beautiful.
It overlooks the ocean.
So if you want to put expensive first in your list, what are you going to conjugate it to do to make it into TED form? So what drops? The E drops changes to
A glottal stop.
no glottal stop.
Oh.
Ku and then te.
Okay.
That's it. No glottal stop.
Huh?
Okay? Takakute. Okay, and then kirei is not a non-adjective, or not an e-adjective rather, it's a non-adjective therefore, kirei na. So how does it change?
Drop E.
You don't drop anything because it's a non-adjective.
Oh, you
So
just
you can't
add
drop
the
E.
te.
No,
Kira.
de, yes. You add de. You're close. Why is it de instead of te? Because it's a non-adjective, and what's your basic is pretty in Japanese? Kirei, kirei, well, kirei na would be the dictionary form, but what's the basic sentence form?
Kirei desu.
Kirei desu, right? What's the short form of desu?
That.
Not the short form, the te form of desu is de. The short form would be da, right? Kirei da would be a casual for
Isn't da like Russian for yes?
irrelevant though. Okay, so takakute, kirei de, and then if you wanted a third adjective, you could add, for example, oishii. Okay? Okay, so if you want the whole sentence to read that the restaurant is expensive and beautiful and delicious.
美味しいわとか。
So you could say, 高くてきれいで美味しいです. Right? If you wanted to reverse the order, you could. You could do きれいで高くて美味しいです. Hi.
Would it be correct to put demo between the first one and the second one, or is that reserved for nouns as well as?
Again, remember demo starts a new sentence.
Oh, okay.
Okay? And if you wanted to make a contrast rather than an and, then it's going to be a different structure. You don't need a te form for that. Okay? You would actually treat it as, for example, takai kedo, or ga, yeah, takai desu ga, or takai kedo, oishii, something like that. This would be takai kedo oishii desu, something like that. Does that make sense? So, because this one is contrast, so you have however. This is like but in English.
Expensive but delicious.
Right. This is and. Okay? The te forms are more like and. It's expensive and beautiful
I don't think it was
and
Russian.
delicious. Okay, so it depends on what you're going for. If you want and, you need the te forms. Does that make sense? Okay. Question? Right.
Not necessarily a question, but the fact that the example given in this is that restaurant is good but expensive on your butt.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Yeah. Okay. Verb stem plus ni iku. Okay, first of all, does everybody understand the concept of a verb stem yet? Okay? The verb stem is a new form. Have we talked about any verb stems yet?
I don't think so.
Okay, so remember
美味しい。
at some point in the past I talked to you guys about maybe creating a chart or a list for yourself of what kinds of grammar structures you can use with te form so that you know, oh, if I want to do this, I need to use te form. So for example, linking adjectives to have more than one adjective in the same sentence, you use te form, right? Linking more than one verb in a sequence within a sentence, you use te form, right? If you want to talk about the reason why you're going somewhere, or doing something, you use a stem, okay? So it's a different structure for a different purpose. And going forward, there are going to be other things that we do with stem that you can't do with TED form. So the point of what I was explaining, the point of what I was explaining is that you can do different things with different structures, and there's no overlap, okay? You cannot say, well, I don't remember how to do STEM, so I'm just gonna put a TED form in this structure. It doesn't work, okay? There's really no overlap between the categories. If it requires STEM form to do something, you need STEM. If it requires TED form to do it, you need TED form. If it requires dictionary form, you need that, okay? You can't mix and match across the different structures. So when I say you need STEM form for this, you need to learn what STEM is, okay? Who can tell the class what STEM is? What's it do?
Oh. What it does?
Oh, no, I mean, how do you
Isn't
make
it
it?
basically just the MOS form without the MOS?
Exactly. No, it's not the same as the short form. Let me show you a
It
contrast.
chops out, it chops out
Dictionary
the
form
last
and short form.
syllable.
Okay, let's do a couple. So, taberu,
Oh, it's,
tabemasu,
it was in our books, it was just.
okay?
Yeah, right here.
Not really explained
Versus
too much.
It
iku,
doesn't explain it.
No,
Sorry,
it doesn't.
iku.
It's like
ikimasu.
really short.
Okay, so here's just a couple of examples. I'm doing one dictionary form, one Uber, one Ruverb, and let's do one dictionary form too. Suru, shimasu. Okay, so
I got it.
these are the ones you already know. Dictionary form, short, mas form, right? To make a stem, all you do is you take off the mas. Okay? Note that none of them are the same as the dictionary form, nor are they the same as the TED forms, right? Hey.
One example it gives in the book is that, like, Mary comes to Japan, but it highlights the part where she says, Nihongo o benkyou shi. And then
Yeah.
it's just highlighting that.
Yeah, because the she is the stem, and then what you do to make this structure, which is telling the reason why you're doing something, is you're going to use the stem plus ni plus the other verb. Okay? So, for example, going to Japan to study Japanese. Okay? How would we put that together? So, you can say Nihon
Ni,
ni,
Nihongo,
Nihon ni, yeah. Nihon
go,
go
o,
o
benkyou shi.
ben kyo shi ni ikimasu.
Good.
It uses
Okay.
kimashita in
Yeah.
the book.
It puts kimashita in the book.
Does it make a difference?
That's
The
past
ikimashita?
Base ikimashita.
Kimas.
They use kimas.
Kimasu.
Well, of course, because this is meant for people who are studying in Japan already.
Already.
Yeah. If you're
Okay.
currently in Japan, when you say this, you would say kimas or kimashita. Okay? Because if you're physically in Japan, then somebody else who comes to Japan, they're coming toward you. So that would be kimas, right?
That,
If we're talking about Hitoshi-kun, for example, Hitoshi-kun wa Amerika ni eigo o benkyou shi ni kimashita.
yeah.
Yeah? So do you see how, because he's here and we're here, we use the verb kimasu to talk about him coming here, right? But we're not in Japan. So for this sentence to end with kimasu would sound odd because we're not physically in Japan. It makes it sound like we are. Okay, so we have to use ikimasu for this structure. Okay, so 日本に日本語を勉強しに行きます or 行きました if somebody already went to Japan for the purpose of studying Japanese. Okay? And notice that you can also do 日本語を勉強 No, never mind. I was going to say that you can move the Nihon ni part to another part of the sentence, but not very comfortably, no. Okay, 日本に日本語を勉強しに行きます. Okay, so you can do that with a variety of things too. So for example, 海に泳ぎに行きます. To go to the ocean for the purpose of swimming. Okay, as opposed to for some other reason, like to watch the sunrise or something. Okay. You can say レストランに寿司を食べに行きます. To go to the restaurant in order to eat sushi. That's the only reason you're going there. If they're not offering sushi, you're not going to go. Okay, do you see the point? Okay. Any questions about that grammar structure? Okay, and then the final thing is, remember we had the counter might before for talking about sheets of paper, small things that are flat and thin like paper.
Mhm.
So, kippu ichimai, one ticket. Kite nimai, 2 stamps. Right? Now they're introducing counting word for people, which it's nice and easy to write in kanji. It's the same gene we already know, okay? The pronunciation is interesting because if it's one person, you pronounce this hitori. If it's 2 people,
Futari.
futari. And then 3 people, it goes to san, nin. And then 4 people is yonin, not yonin, but yonin.
Yoni.
And then after that it stays gonin, rokunin, shishin, hachinin. It's easy from there.
Yeah, because it says
Okay.
here, the nin, but the irregulars are for 1 and 2.
Yeah, the irregulars are 1 and 2, and 4 is slightly irregular because it's yo, not yon. Hey.
Is there any reason to differentiate between shichinin and nananin?
I honestly, as far as I know, it's personal preference. Shichinin versus nananin. Is there any reason to prefer one over the other?
Yeah, just for,
Just personal preference, right? Some regional dialects may prefer one or the other, but
well, I think which you can, easy to say.
yeah, whichever is easier for you to say.
I said nanani.
You say nananin usually, and I
I
usually
say
shichinin. Yeah, I usually say shichinin, but hey, nananin. Yeah, whichever one rolls off your tongue easier. Yeah. Hey.
Don't some regions in Japan also say she instead of yon? So wouldn't it be?
But you would not use shinin. That sounds like dead person.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So you would say
Awkward.
yeah, because so the
Yeah,
yo.
it's always going to be yonin
Okay.
for 4 people.
Alright.
Yeah, yonin. It's never going to be
Isn't
shinin.
4
No.
like the equivalent of like 13? Like in the monkey?
Yeah, and the reason is because the she pronunciation of 4
Is
is
similar to die.
similar to die, because shinu is the verb to die.
Yeah, it was a vocabulary word.
Die.
Yeah, and because
Right.
in Chinese it's even closer.
Right. If
Yeah,
we,
'cause in Chinese, the only
Okay.
difference between the verb to die and the number 4 is the tone mark. Yeah, that's the only difference in Mandarin. So, yeah, Chinese people really hate the number 4. Japanese people are slightly less superstitious about it, I've found, than Chinese people are.
yeah.
So their
it-
version of 4 is our version of 13.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so questions. Also, did everybody read the Hyogen Noto?
Huh?
Hyogen Noto. There are 2 entries in there. One is the concept of asobu. We translate it usually as to play, just because that's convenient. But the meaning is closer to do something for fun, or to do some to spend time pleasantly or to pay a social call, to go visit. Okay, so, 友達の家に遊びに行きます. Going to a friend's house, not to play in the 3-year-old sense of play, but to visit, to hang out, to do something that you and your friend both enjoy. Okay?
Yeah, because it gives those 3 here on the
Yeah.
bottom.
Okay. And yeah, sports, you do not use asobu. It's tenis o suru. Games, generally also suru. Game o suru. Musical instruments have different verbs based on the kind of musical instrument it is.
Hiku?
Hiku is for all the stringed instruments. It means to pull, but by extension to pluck also.
Ah.
So any stringed instruments are hiku.
Does
Right.
that count for pianos?
Yes, yeah, piano.
Because on the inside of the piano, you've got little hammers.
Yeah,
plucking
striking,
strings.
they're really striking the strings on the piano. A harpsichord, they're actually plucking. But either way, it still uses hiku.
Interacting with strings.
Yeah, interacting with strings, exactly. All the wind instruments are fuku, and tataku, I think, for
Although
drum.
that's true,
all
what would
percussion.
you use for a synthesizer? Because
Or
it's,
the
I think because its form
because
is
it's
like a
the
piano, I
piano,
think they
it's
would
still-
still use hiku. Because all of these verbs and their usages evolved prior to
technology.
modern technologies. Most of them are honestly prior to encounters with Western cultures at all. Japanese traditional instruments fall into those same 3 categories of winds, strings, and percussion. So.
Okay, so to play, the verb does not apply to instruments or to sports.
Right, or to other games like board games or card games.
What about video games?
Gameをする still, right? Yeah, テレビゲームをする。Yeah,
You can
Yeah.
say, rarely we can say
It wasn't
遊ぶ。
the homework.
遊ぶ。
Like 友達とビデオゲームで遊ぶ。
Yeah.
Okay, but it
Yeah.
would be dead, not old.
Yeah.
あ、
Yeah.
You say,
What about games like Pac-Man? Pac-Man.
Oh.
Pac-Man.
パクマンをする。
yes.
パクマンをする, yeah. So if it's a specific game, Nintendo をする.
Yeah, it's in the homework on the
Yeah.
CD, it was used as suited.
Yeah, that's the more common one. Okay, also they're talking about shiru versus wakaru. Okay. Wakarimasen versus shirimasen. Okay.
See lesson 4, dialogue
Okay. Yeah, so they're talking about, for example, if let's say you were given a homework assignment, and in class the teacher is asking you who knows the answer to question number 5, if you say wakarimasen, that means that you attempted the homework, but you just couldn't get number 5. Okay? If you say shirimasen, it's like none of your business.
None
So,
of your business.
so that's really rude in that context. Shirimasen is appropriate when somebody's asking you, like, do you know so-and-so? And you don't know them at all, you've never met them, you could use it there. You can use it when you just don't know the information and there's no way you could have known the
これ
information.
じゃなくて
Like Blake's sister. I've never met her. I don't know her, so I would use that.
Shirimasen, yeah.
Alright.
Or if you just don't know the information, if it's a factual information that you just have no way of knowing.
Like jump starting a car. I don't know.
But that, well, that's iffy because you would have a way of learning it if you chose to. You could look it up on the internet or something. But shirimasen is for things like you have no way of knowing Jonathan's opinion on sushi because you don't know each other well enough, you haven't talked to him about
Hi,
it.
John. I'm John.
Right.
On the app for the vocabulary for the book, it uses little pictures for that specific word
Yeah,
to reference knowing a person.
yeah,
And like, I know that person, and I don't know that person. Is
right.
it suitable to use in that context? Or is it rude to use in that context?
shirimasen? Yeah, I don't know that person is shirimasen. Yeah, you would not use wakarimasen for that, because wakarimasen is more like I don't understand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
little pictures.
shitemasu. Yeah, so I know that person, shitemasu. I don't know them, shirimasen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, cute little pictures.
yeah. Hey,
Yeah, I read something about like shiranai is sort of like don't know and don't care to know, like can have that effect on
it can,
context.
yeah, if you say shiranai in certain circumstances, it's like, who cares?
Don't
You
like,
know,
oh.
I don't know and I don't
Yeah.
care and don't bother me with that, you know? So it can be rude if you're not careful about it, yeah. Okay, so I just wanted to just mention that because shirimasu and shirimasen are part of your vocabulary. For particularly shitemasu and shirimasen are part of your vocabulary. Because shirimasu, honestly, you hardly ever hear used. But shitemasu, to know, and shirimasen, to not know, are the ones that are commonly used. Okay? So I want to make sure you guys have some time to practice, and we only have a little bit of time left. So go ahead and grab a partner quick, just whoever is sitting close to you. Okay? And work on the first few pair work activities.
First pair will be what you were doing at the following times yesterday, be as specific as possible. Where, with whom, and so on. Okay then, so